What's up, everyone? It's Purple Haze with another episode of Purple Shade. And shout out to Severin Evans for poking me to make this video. I see what you're doing, Severin. I appreciate it. So with that said, let me jump into this. All right. So the reason I make these videos about the Microsoft Activision deal isn't just because I find it interesting, but more or less because I don't hear people making the points that I think are important based upon my research and what I've looked at. And this is another case of that. So when we hear about this deal, we always hear about this deal in one context particularly. Sometimes we hear about a second one, but I'm really here to talk about the third one. And what do I mean by first, second, and third? Well, these are the markets that the FTC has said this deal is anti-competitive in. So the first market that the FTC said this deal is anti-competitive is in the high-end gaming console market. Now, the CMA has already kind of said that they don't think that there's anything to do with this. We haven't heard the FTC say anything, but they're going to probably come to the same conclusion that potentially this is not necessarily anti-competitive in this market. They could, but they probably won't. That's just my bet. These regulators share notes. And so any conversation about PlayStation or Nintendo, I really don't think it matters just because, I just don't. So the next one is the cloud gaming market. And this one is the one where we talk about GFN and Boosteroid. This is also kind of where Microsoft, when you combine the console argument with the GFN argument or the cloud argument, that's where Microsoft comes up with this 150 million players will have access to these games. Which again, I don't really know why that has any bearing on anything, but that's the PR push they're going. That's the angle they're taking. But again, I don't know. Clive Linden, shout out to Clive, great content creator. I'll link him down below. Has a really great video on why this is potentially not a market. I think it's still a very academic argument, but at the same time, it could go either way. So if you can kind of see the console market, I'm pretty sure the deal doesn't affect the cloud market. Could go either way, one way or the other. But this third one, I think, is actually a pretty big deal. And that's what the FTC called the multi-content gaming subscription service, right? That's Game Pass for, in so many words. And why I think this is a really big deal here is because the FTC is calling this market out specifically. And when we think about the concessions Microsoft's made, you haven't heard them make any concessions to the other subscription models. You haven't heard them make anything to Luna, to Blacknut, to Utomic, and obviously look, they can say what they want to say about PlayStation, but they haven't signed it. So with that said, you have to ask yourself, is Microsoft actually being a little bit exclusive in this market? And see, this is the one that I think Microsoft actually cares about. Because Microsoft has told us in so many words, and shout out to TK9, because he's been saying this all along. Xbox doesn't care about console gamers. Xbox has given up on the console wars a long time ago when they realized that they probably lost it. That's why they probably try to pivot from the Xbox being a gaming console to an entertainment console in the Xbox One generation. See, Microsoft believes the future of gaming is game subscription model. This is game subscription services. That's why they push Game Pass that direction. Whether or not that's the future or not, regulators still have to take that into account, just in case it is the future. And if it is the future, then you can kind of say that Microsoft might be anti-competitive. And before anybody jumps down my throat and says well, Purple, look at Netflix and Amazon Prime and all that. Yeah, I don't think Amazon could buy MGM in today's market. I don't think Disney could get Marvel or Star Wars, right? When AT&T went and bought Warner Brothers, this was also looked at and scrutinized. This is not new for media to be scrutinized. And that's in the TV and film industry where there's way more IP to be had for way more viewers. This is a gaming market in which there are less customers and less IP. So yes, this should have a higher ooh, I scratched my mic. This should have a higher level to pass. And no one's talking about this market, the gaming subscription market. And I think this is the one where Microsoft is most vulnerable because they are already a market leader in this industry. And before anybody says, well, Purple, PlayStation has more subscribers. The FTC doesn't, regulators don't care about that. Regulators aren't in the business of saying, like, oh, yes, for you to compete against PlayStation, you can go do this behavior that leads to a more anti competitive environment for the entire market. See, what they look at is how easy is it for another company to come into this market? And see, if it's not easier, if the barrier to entries have been raised, that is considered anti competitive. And we can almost assure ourselves Microsoft is looking for exclusivity in Game Pass and in their subscription services. So much so that Dan Eves, if you don't know who Dan Eves is, he's a senior equity researcher at WebBest Securities. He's also kind of known as the truth sayer on all things technology for the stock market. And Dan Eves has said that this deal is basically all about exclusivity. And if Microsoft really wanted to, they could go to Luna and just say, let's put this, Luna, you will have access to the Activision library. They haven't done that. They haven't done it with any of the subscription services, like I mentioned earlier. Black Nut, no. Utomic, no. Luna, no. PlayStation, no. Stadia, potentially. There's a lot of evidence that says after the Bethesda deal, Stadia's content library really suffered. And guess what? None of the new Bethesda games came to Stadia afterwards. There's actually quite a bit of evidence to show that this was anti-competitive behavior. But let me know what you think. I've already told you all. Do I think this deal goes through? I don't know. What I do know is the longer it goes on, the less likely it's to go through. And so with that, let me know your thoughts below. Do you think the subscription model, the Game Pass, is an actual market? And do you think Microsoft might have been acting a little anti-competitive in this market? Or if not, let me know why. And before anybody says, like, I'm a PlayStation pony, look, I have so many Xbox controllers in front of me. Like, please, I buy a lot of Xbox stuff, a lot of stuff. So please don't hate on me. I'm just giving a different point of view that I don't hear that much. But with that, this is Purple Haze, and I don't care where you game, how you game, why you game, when you game, how long you game. As long as you're gaming, you're good with me. And as always, the proof is in the plane. All right, later, y'all.